camera before the interview began about Bob Lazar and some of the statements that he had made. You've looked at that information.
Yes. Now, I've only come across this fairly recently, since I do research on, distant quasars and black holes and dark matter and things of that kind, and I'm rather new to this. And I've found Bob Lazar's materials to be extremely convincing. And Bob Lazar, the movie, to me, is unfortunately about the question of, is his testimony real, and is he real, and all of that, which I am not the least bit interested in. I am interested in the part where he discusses the small segment of the UFO craft that he was allowed to work on, and where he did know exactly how the parts were manufactured. But he did not say anything about how they worked. And I'm convinced that what he was describing is the UFO's brain. Now, in my lecture and in the free volume, I discuss how the very difficult for physics to swallow instantaneous propagation of information through the universe exceeding the speed of light, now measured to over 100,000 times the speed of light. That's the speed of quantum, and it might as well be instantaneous if it's that fast. I believe that all of that shows that there is coherence within the universe beyond what's traditionally understood right now, and that the spacecraft brain that Bob Lazar did, he didn't say it was the brain, but he described its form, and I believe that what it does is it has amplifying sensors in that cap, in that dome that we see on the top of the craft, and you know that people who've been on the craft and have been shown, been given the tour, talk about the big crystal that's above the brains, the minds of the operators. If you look at Bob's sketch, you realize that the crystal is at the focus or at the center of the detectors. So I believe that this part of the spacecraft is doing what I'm trying to say the human brain and the computer is doing. Namely, it's taking information about where it is along coherent paths in the universe and comparing that to a picture of the overall structure of the universe. And that informs the craft if it's getting closer to its destination, which is in the minds of the operators below the prism. So I believe that that's the basic function of the UFO in what we call interstellar mode. There is also another mode for the spacecraft that's again described in good detail by Susie Hansen, who was taught to operate the spacecraft. It describes the falling leaf operation and seen in the spacecraft's motion and all of those things. And I believe that that's a different mode of spacecraft operation.
Local travel.
For local travel, that's right. It's what we call the pickup.
Last question. You're talking about Lazar and the occupants, whoever they were, the pilots. They were a necessary component of how this thing functions. So us trying, if we have those craft, us trying to duplicate that, we're going to have a hard time, I would think.
I think you're right about that, but I think there are some fairly simple solutions. And so since I'm not in the business of operating and making these craft, I haven't really explored that in any depth, but I believe there are some simple solutions.